Welcome to Fast Click Massive Tutorial. This video will cover routing and assignments, and I will be providing you with basic knowledge and examples if necessary. The signal flowchart on the routing page will be explained shortly, and the routing of modulation sources, sidechaining and bipolar modulation will also be explained in this video. Clicking on the routing page will show the signal flowchart. From left to right, 3 oscillators and a noise oscillator generate 4 audio signals to form the basis of the sound. The modulation oscillator does not count in the signal routing, however, it can still modulate the 3 oscillators. Just to the right of these are the bypass selectors, where only one can be activated at a time. This means you can select which audio signal will be passed directly towards the end of the chain. There are 3 targets, FX1, FX2 and the EQ. You can choose one of these to send your bypass signal to mix with the main signal. There are also 7 points in the signal chain where you can place an insert effect 1 and 2. You may only choose one location for each insert effect at a time. These signals are then mixed down to 2 individual filter buses using routing faders on each source. There are also 4 feedback points, only one can be chosen at a time, where you can route the signal back to be reintroduced to the signal chain. Ignoring all adjustable points in the signal flow, after the filter section it flows through the amp and pan section. Note that the sound of each voice is computed independently from all others until the signal is downmixed to generate a stereo output signal. This downmix takes place just before the signal is routed through the master effects. The signal is then passed through FX1, FX2 and then the EQ and finally the master volume. Colored rings indicate which modulation targets are routed to a parameter. To assign any of the modulation sources, such as the envelope, LFO, performer or stepper, click on the modulation handle shaped like a cross and drag it to the modulation slot. Then click and drag up or down to adjust the amount of modulation applied. A small break at the end serves as a clipping indicator. It shows that the limit of the modulation range is higher or lower than the control's range. Right-clicking will bring up a small menu which allows you to mute or unmute or delete the modulation assignments. In most sections you will see 2 modulation slots with a hyphen underneath and the third slot with letters SC underneath it. The SC slot or sidechaining slot allows you to modulate the assigned modulation. Without sidechaining activated, it acts as another extra modulation slot. Having more than one modulation assigned to the parameter, their values will then be calculated for total amount of modulation. However, when the sidechaining is activated, modulation will work differently. The sidechain's modulation value will be used as a multiplier, changing the value of the other modulation sources. For example, assign an LFO over the wavetable position slot. Then add macro 1 in the sidechain slot. Click on the hyphen underneath the LFO slot. This shows an upward arrow. The upward arrow means that the sidechain is affecting the modulation signal with a normal polarity. If you click again, it will show a downward arrow. This represents inverted polarity. Moving on, adjust the LFO amount. In this case it will be set to full. Then turn the control on macro 1, you'll start to hear the amount of influence on the sweepback of the LFO. To assign MIDI controllers to a specific parameter, simply right-click and select MIDI Learn in the menu. Then turn the desired control on the external MIDI device. This will automatically assign it to the parameter. Some modulation sources have positive and negative polarity like the LFO, which oscillates between positive and negative values. If this is assigned to the pitch with the modulation depth to 1 semitone, the pitch will oscillate between +1 semitone and -1 semitone. If an envelope is assigned, it will modulate between 0 and 1 semitone. In simple terms, it's just the flow of the current, flowing positive or negative. Even more simply, flowing forwards or reversed. Bipolarity is important when you use high modulation amounts on an extreme setting. When you add a bipolar modulation source, where the left or right side is modulating over the parameter's limit, it may go over its limit and cause the signal to dip. This will not cause any problems, but may not be something you desire when modulating. This ends my tutorial. Thank you for watching and make sure to subscribe to my channel.